Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. In the office today, editing some video, and I just wanted to take a minute to talk to you guys and talk about a Bible passage that should be considered universal law. Universal law. I'll tell you what I mean, and I'm gonna explain to you how it works. All right. Hopefully this will be a short video. I didn't say it would. I said hopefully. All right. So Proverbs 26 and 27. Pull that up. Proverbs 26 and 27. What does it read? I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. Proverbs 26 and 27 says, "He that diggeth a pit," or a ditch, however you want to explain it, "he who diggeth a pit will fall in it. And he who rolls a stone, that same stone is going to roll back on him." That's universal. That's universal law. What do I mean by that? The righteous. You got righteous and you got unrighteousness. Watch this. If you're righteous, you're not digging a pit for somebody to fall in. All right? You're not. I mean, unless you're talking about war or something like that. That's a whole different argument. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about straight up everyday living. He who digs a pit will fall in it. And he who rolls a stone is going to roll back on him. It always works that way. It's universal law. Here's why. If you're walking in righteousness, okay, then you're a child of the light, all right? You're a child of the light. So, watch this. People who are not walking in righteousness are children of darkness, all right? And you can see multiple examples in the scripture where the Messiah, he tells one group of people that he's talking to, or whatever, one audience, that ye are children of the light. And then another group he's talking to, he says, ye are of your father, the devil. So they're walking in darkness. Now let's stay focused on this scripture, all right? If you're walking in light, you're not trying to dig, you don't need to dig a ditch for anybody, all right? You don't need to roll a stone on them because your light hurts their eyes. So your light, your righteousness, the light of your righteousness is already affecting them, all right? It's hurting them. Matter of fact, it's hurting them without you even trying to do anything, because your intent is not to hurt. Your intent is simply to cast light in the dark world. All right, to shine the light in the darkness. But now watch this. If you are a child of the darkness, then when you dig that ditch, all right, to try to trap someone who is a child of, first of all, you ain't digging that ditch for somebody else who's in the darkness. All right, they got their own issues. You're not digging a ditch for them. You're a lower vibrational being. You're trying to come at somebody that's vibrating high because their high vibrations are messing with you. So if you dig a ditch or a pit to try to trap them, guess what? Their light extends so far away from them that they can see everything that's dark. So they're going to see that pit and avoid it, right? But if you're living in darkness, if you're walking in darkness, then guess what? Your darkness casts a shadow in front of you. And that darkness can overtake anybody who's not in the light. But guess what? If you're digging a pit, a trap, you're only doing it for somebody that's walking in light. So guess what? When you dig that trap, because your darkness extends in front of you, first of all, you're going to be blinded by their light, which is so far out in front of them that they can see your trap. But guess what? Now you're blinded. You're blinded by their light. So you got to turn and move around and get away from it. And guess what? Because you're walking in darkness, you're not even going to see. Your darkness overtakes the trap that you dug, that you set for somebody else, and you end up falling in it yourself. All right? It's the same thing. The same thing with rolling a stone. You rolling a stone, you're trying to hurt somebody that's walking in the light. But guess what? Their light sees that stone coming, and they're able to avoid it. But guess what? What goes around comes around. So guess what? In the midst of their walking in that light, they're able to avoid that stone. But you end up rolling right back into that stone that you rolled on them. Here's why. The spirit of righteousness, the spirit of the Most High, will oftentimes confuse you. What happens when you're sleeping at night, all right? You got the lights off, you sleeping at night. And then boom, out of nowhere, somebody cast a bright light at you. Somebody cast a bright light. Watch this. Boom. Somebody cast a bright light at you, all right? It confuses you. That light confuses you, And so you're temporarily blinded by that light. And it puts you in a state of derision, a state of confusion. And now you're wandering around like, oh man, guess what? That same stone that you rolled on them, it rolls back and swallows and knocks you down. That's universal law. That's the only way it works. This is why you have to walk in righteousness. When you walk in righteousness, a light comes from you. All right, a spiritual light. You're able to see into the darkness. All right, you're able to shine light in the dark places for those that are trying to find the light, trying to find their way to it. But guess what? Those low vibrational beings that love dwelling in darkness, they want to trap you because your light hurts their eyes, but they can't do it. Because that universal law, Proverbs 26:27 says, he who digs a pit will fall in it, and he who rolls a stone is going to roll back on him. That is how that works. And that's why that scripture should be called universal law. That passage of scripture should be called universal law because it always works that way. If you're walking in darkness, you'll never trap someone who's walking in righteousness. All right? You've heard in some of my videos, I've alluded to Star Wars movie and how Star Wars is a great example or a microcosm of the spiritual battle. Star Wars. Pay attention. Star Wars. All right? That's why the force, the positive side of the force, is always telling the Jedi to use the force or to not be tempted by the dark side. See, as long as you're walking in light, the darkness can never defeat you. But if they can tempt you to go into the dark side, they already know you're not from the darkness. But if they can tempt you to go in the dark side, then they got you. Now that trap that they sprung will be effective against you, but it's because you are no longer walking in the light. This stuff is universal law. Stay righteous. Peace, y'all. All right, so this is an outtake of the video you just watched. Wow, there's so much in that one passage of scripture, Proverbs 26:27. But to summarize it, when you dig a ditch, the reason why you fall in it yourself. The reason why when you dig a ditch for someone else to fall in it, when you dig a pit to trap someone else, you end up falling in it yourself, is because you're only digging that pit for someone who is emanating light. But that in and of itself is foolish, because the light emanating from them, one, shows them your trap, and two, it blinds you to the location of your own trap, and you end up falling in it. This is why I've said in a number of my videos, some of them on Facebook, that when the Most High, or for those of y'all that don't want to call him the Most High, whatever, when the spirit of righteousness wants to kick your behind, he takes pleasure in watching you fall to your own vices or your own devices. He doesn't have to beat you. Your own evil and wicked thoughts are what end up defeating you. This is why you got to walk in the light. This is why, in Star Wars terms, when you're a Jedi or when you are someone who's trying to live righteously, you have to use the Force. You have to not be tempted to go to the dark side, because the dark side only serves or only exists to do one of two things with you. If you're a powerful light being, that dark side really can't defeat you straight up. But what it will do is try to tempt you to come over to its side so that it can use your powerful spirit, your spirit weaponry. It wants to use it for its own purpose and then cast you aside when it's done. Because what ends up happening is, because you are now a servant to the dark, you end up falling to another light source, because light is always greater than darkness. So I wanted to leave y'all with that. And the last thing I wanted to say is, if you're worrying about this whole scamdemic, yeah, I said it. If you're worried about this whole scamdemic, you're a child of the light. You ain't got to worry about it. All you got to do is just keep living. Because again, he who diggeth the pit will fall in it. So the very trap that was laid for certain energies with this worldwide scamdemic, that trap's going to end up falling on the creators, the creators of the scam. All right. So you ain't got to worry about the little willies. The little Tonys. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I don't even want to say their name no more. I don't want to give no credit. I don't even want to give no energy to them. You ain't got to worry about falling victim to their vices. All you got to do is just keep walking in the light. And all you got to do is not give in to fear. Fear is one of the biggest tools they use to trap. Fear is a low vibration. It is. So fear can get you to step out of the light and into their darkness. If someone who walks in darkness is giving you instruction and you don't walk in darkness, why are you following it? Why? This is heavy stuff, y'all. I got to get off of it because it's too much. It's a lot. It's a lot. But remember, that's universal law. He who digs a pit will fall in it, and he who rolls a stone is going to roll on him. Those words cannot fail. He said in the scripture, and I'm going to paraphrase roughly because I don't have it in front of me. It may be on the bottom of the screen by the time you see this. Behold, I send forth my word, and it will accomplish exactly what I intend for it to accomplish. It will not return to me void or empty. His word always carries out what he intends for it to carry out. All right? So you don't have to worry about it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Just live righteously. What is righteous living? I ain't talking about what your pastor said. I ain't talking about what the church said. I'm talking about do what you know in your heart is the right thing to do. It's that simple. It really is. Righteousness is simply doing what you know to be right in your heart. Not what you think is right, what you know is right. That's all righteousness is. And unrighteousness is the opposite of that. You know a good thing to do, but you choose to do the opposite. That's unrighteous, all right? Y'all don't worry about these people, man. Their time's up. Their time's up. They're the ones who are afraid, so they're trying to put their fear onto you. Don't fall for it. Just keep living righteous. Peace, y'all.